Thank you once again for joining me, Dab86. Today we'll be going over profession specializations. That way we can get you on the right foot as you start your crafting journey. Let's go ahead and jump right on into it. And as always, make sure to hit that follow button, leave a like, comment, subscribe, of course ring the bell for notifications so you can see when I release any new content. And come follow me at Twitch at the_dab86. So as we start our profession specialization guide, the very first thing, if you've already hit 25 skill in your crafting or gathering skills, make sure that if you have handy notes, which gives these awesome locations to specialization knowledge, go around the map and of course collect them. They're in every zone, and I enlarged them for easy to see here. And it will give you a ton of specialization skill. The second thing that you're going to want to make sure to do is when you're doing your specializations, make sure to get your accessories. These will give you very important stats for your specializations and for your crafting and gathering skills. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is stat values for gathering professions, which include mining, skinning, and herbing. So what they are of course skill, which is based off your profession skill, your specializations and gear. Finesse allows you to gather more. Deftness allows you to gather faster, and perception, which allows you to gather rare materials. Now, if we were to give a weight to all of them, the stat ranking, of course, S-class, both finesse and perception. Skill at A, and because deftness is by far the worst, I added a B and C just to show just how bad it is by putting it as a D class. Because mining faster, herbing faster, and skinning faster is kind of a whatever. The next thing we'll be looking at here, of course, is the professions such as leatherworking, alchemy, inscription, things of that nature. The skills that we have here, of course, once again, skill is based on professional skill, specialization, reagents, and gear. Inspiration increases quality that recipe is crafted at. Resourcefulness, chance to use fewer tradable resources. Crafting speed, you craft faster. And multi-craft, a chance to make more of an item if it has multi-craft available to it. Not all recipes do. Giving those a stat ranking, of course, resourcefulness and multi-craft at the highest, but only multi-craft is S when multi-crafting is able to be achieved. If not, it might as well be D. At A, we have inspiration and skill because, once again, these have great stat weights as long as the recipe isn't maxed. Once it is, they drop off vastly and once again drop all the way to the bottom. Once again, crafting speed is by far the worst, so I added a C and B again just to show that crafting speed is by far the worst. So to do a breakdown of the professions, the first one we're going to be looking at is mining. So things to take a look at here, of course, is mining process, which at 35 points will get you the ability to mine and fly. And then, of course, followed by sorting and surveying, because this is going to allow you to get more and rarer resources. Make sure, of course, to be looking at what you want, because you want to make sure you're getting stats that have a value. From there, you're kind of free to look wherever you want for other things. But of course, the main value here is getting the ability to fly and mine at the same time. That way you don't have to dismount, which greatly increases your gathering speed. The second profession that we're going to look at, again, it's going to be herbology. The one that you want here, of course, is going to be 40 points into botany. So that way you can... So that way you don't have to worry about dismounting, and allows you to continue gathering faster. After that, I'd probably be looking into cultivation and conversance, and of course points into bountiful harvest. Those are going to be allow you to gather more and be more valuable to you, because once getting that finesse and perception increased to get you more. The third one we're going to look at is skinning, which here I would recommend putting the points into harvesting and trophy collector, because once again, it's gathering more. You get a buff to killing anything that's skinnable, and 2, it allows you to gather rare materials. Now, you'll also get the stomachs or whatnot from going into this route. However, the materials that you get from the stomach are sporadic at best, so I can't really guarantee what you're going to get to it is going to have any value, as I've gotten grays, stuff for herbing, I've gotten food, I've gotten stuff for enchanting, so it's a hodgepodge of materials that are inside that. But then after that, you're free to go in any direction that you choose as far as where you put the points, but I would strongly recommend harvesting and trophy collector to start your journey. Now moving on to the actual crafting professions, we're going to be first looking at blacksmithing, which I strongly recommend at the 25 marker going with that way you can get safety smithing for the resourcefulness. After that, once you've hit the 50 mark, I would strongly recommend doing research on contracts to see what is needed on your server before putting in the points, choosing your next specialization. I chose weaponsmithing, which I honestly feel was kind of the wrong way to go with it. I feel armor smithing might have actually been a better choice because I've kind of stagnated on where I can grow at. Other options, of course, once you've hit 75, I would probably be looking at specialty smithing. That way for smelting more alloys and stonework. Second, we're going to be looking at leatherworking. I'd strongly recommend at the 25 point going with leatherworking discipline. So that way you can get shear mastery, which is located here, and curing and tanning, which is located here. This increases your, once again, resourcefulness. So you get back mats when you craft the recipe, and curing and tanning because it gives you multi-craft when it comes to making the armor kits for legs, which are going to be a more used item as people are upgrading gear and min-maxing. After that, once again, make sure at the 50 mark, do your research, see which one of these is getting a lot of contracts, and go with it. So that way your skill can continue to level as you're using contracts to do so. For the third one, we're going to be looking at inscription. I'd recommend at the 25 marker going with Rune Master. That way you can get Understanding Flora, and then getting Flawless Inks and Perfect Practice. These give you a ton of resourcefulness by you getting more inks from your pigments, getting more from when you break down the herbs, and of course, once again, save more resources. After that, I'd strongly recommend, as always, doing your research, seeing what's important. Honestly, I'd probably be looking at contracts and misses and treatises, as those are probably going to be the most common. Dark Moon decks, I don't recommend because right now on my server, the ace is almost as much as the trinket. And your odds are of getting aces are very low. So you're either going to be buying it and then making no profit. So moving on to our fourth, with alchemy, I strongly recommend starting at the 25 marker at alchemical theory. That way you can put 15 points in to get resourceful routines and chemical synthesis. After that, once you hit the 50 mark, I would recommend going file mastery and heading down to batch production and file experimentation, because this will also, once again, give you those efficient resources that you're needing. So that way you're not spending a lot of mats, and also making something that's going to be usable and sellable. Then also, before we proceed with our fifth one of tailoring, don't forget that with the accessories, if they have random stats, they can be reforged with missives to give you the stats that you want. So do not forget about that. So for tailoring, I'd strongly recommend going with Tailoring Mastery. For cloth collection, and putting all the 50 points in that because it's going to allow you more cloth. And then, of course, and sparing sewing, because that's going to give you resourcefulness. So you'll get more cloth, use less cloth, and then, as always, do your research where to go so that way you can continue getting points using contracts. For our sixth profession, for engineering, I'd strongly recommend starting off with optimized efficiency and then doing generalist, scrapper, and at least a point into pieces and parts to at least unlock that part for the spare parts. And then after that, I would probably honestly look to moving towards function over form, as that would probably have the most. But once again, as always, do your research, see where you might be getting contracts at in your contract list, and move in that direction if it gives you the skill increase. For enchanting, I strongly recommend taking Insight of the Blue for the beginning at 25, as you'll want to put full points into Insight of the Blue and full points into Draconic Disenchantment, as this will allow you to get more mats by obtaining items that drop that you would not normally see unless you have it, and then Draconic Disenchantment to get more enchanting mats from breaking down the items that you get, whether it be green or the special items that drop thanks to Insight of the Blue. And then, of course, after that, do your research on whether you go Rods or Ruin for enchantment. And last but not least, we're going to be looking at jewel crafting. It is one of the few that has a great potential with the Elemental Lariat, but where I would start out here, of course, is with enterprising. Mainly for prospecting and glassware. Prospecting because it allows you, as you break down, you'll get more from prospecting, and it'll also allow you to get Casgarite ore, which goes a long way because it's one of the harder materials to get in the game, or at least miners. Glassware because it'll allow you to get the dragon hordes to break down to get more gems. After that, I would probably honestly look at setting, as this will give you the item that allows you to add 3 gems to a neck, as that is also going to be a very profitable area to move to, as most players who are looking to min-max will be needing that to increase their neck. And I did forget to mention one thing throughout the guide. Make sure you're looking at items that you get for new, because your first craft does award 1 knowledge for your specialization, so that way you can use that to improve that. And if you enjoyed the guide, make sure to hit that follow button, subscribe, like, leave a comment, and come follow me at Twitch at _Dab86. I appreciate it. Have a good day and stay safe.